I messed up at the airport and feel sad about how my boyfriend treated me. How can I manage the situation or my feelings?
Plus 2 updates.
I've been dating my boyfriend 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗹 for almost 2 years, and we were traveling internationally for the first time. Here's what happened. I fully admit this was 100% my fault. I'm embarrassed. While we were checking in for our flight, I realized I had forgotten my passport. I made a last-minute decision to switch fanny packs, and in the process, left my passport behind. I was so ashamed and apologetic. We live outside the main city, so it would take me an hour to go home and another hour to get back if I was lucky with no traffic. Basically, I wouldn't have made it in time. When I told my boyfriend I forgot my passport, he blew up. He started calling me stupid and forgetful, which, honestly, I wasn't disagreeing with. I kept saying, I know. I was already feeling anxious and embarrassed, especially because he was scolding me in front of the flight attendant. She gave me a sympathetic look, but I stayed calm. The flight attendant was really helpful and said I could catch tomorrow's flight if I paid a $300 difference, which I thought was reasonable. But my boyfriend's reaction was,
"What about me?"
I told him he could go ahead, and I'd catch up the next day. He got upset, saying we were supposed to travel together, so I offered to pay to change his flight as well. Then he complained that it would be a waste of $600, and we could have spent that money on the trip if I hadn't been so stupid. Just to clarify, money isn't a big issue for us. At that point, I was just trying to keep it together because there were people in line behind us, and I didn't want to make a scene. I probably apologized 100 times. The flight attendant went out of her way to search for other flights that might leave the same day. For the 20 to 30 minutes we stood there, my boyfriend kept sighing loudly and grunting. I was so stressed out, trying to fix my mistake, but he wouldn't let up. Then, the flight attendant asked if anyone could bring my passport. She even offered to take me through the Transportation Security Administration via the priority line. I immediately called my best friend and begged her to grab my passport from my place. Thankfully, she came through. I love her so much. Problem solved, right? Not exactly. I told my boyfriend he could check in and go ahead, but he insisted on staying with me. As we waited for my friend to arrive, he continued scolding me.
"Your best friend better make it on time. How could you forget? If we miss this flight, I don't know if I'll care to catch the next one. You're so stupid."
And so on. I swear, I lost years off my life waiting and hoping my friend would arrive in time. Thankfully, she did, and with the flight attendant's help, we made it through with 7 minutes to spare before boarding. When I finally sat down on the plane and had a moment to breathe, I cried. But then my boyfriend became super affectionate. He hugged me, patted my head, and kept saying,
"We're okay, don't worry, we made it."
I told him straight up that I didn't appreciate how he treated me earlier, but he replied,
"I can't coddle stupid behavior."
I was like, the fork? He was great at consoling me after that and even promised to buy dinner when we landed. I thought I could forgive him, and I really want to enjoy our trip. We've landed, and he's back to his usual loving self, but the airport situation is still bothering me. Any advice? I know I messed up pretty badly, so maybe I should just let it go since it was my fault. I just wish he had been nicer about it. How can I bring it up again without ruining the vibe? Or should I wait until after the trip? Or should I just suck it up because I caused the whole issue?
A commenter.
You're in an emotionally abusive relationship. I believe that when you eventually find a healthy relationship, and if you forget your passport again, this will happen. They'll say, "Oh, that's a bummer," but it's no big deal. It was an accident. Accidents happen. Let's figure it out together. I love you, so don't be so hard on yourself. And then you'll cry and wonder why you wasted so much time on that poopy head.
Update 1. Thank you to everyone who took the time to share their thoughts and kind words with me. I know it was a mistake, one that's definitely frustrating. To be honest, I actually got over it pretty quickly because, well, I'm on vacation and I'm having fun. I also took some time to reflect on our nearly 2 years together. It was really the first time he's shown this level of immaturity, so I made a mental note to have a deeper conversation about it when we get back. But here's the not-so-good update. We were out shopping at a duty-free store, and guess who forgot their passport? My boyfriend. I made a mocking joke, purposely sounding obnoxious. "Oh wow, how could you forget your passport? You can't use mine because I don't coddle stupid behavior." And he was furious. He stonewalled me for the entire day, and I ended up crying. Then I got so angry that I decided to use the $600 I had saved to stay at a hostel. It's a bit dirty and lonely, so now I'm battling feelings of sadness, anger, and regret. But I'm trying to prove a point. He hasn't texted me first, and I don't want to be the one to cave either. We still have one booked attraction and a few restaurant reservations, so I don't know. I'm definitely reconsidering the relationship. Update 2. When it happened, to address the comments, yeah, I was being petty and spiteful. I told myself I was over it, but the moment he forgot his passport, I just said it. And yes, he did use my passport for the tax-free purchase before ignoring me the entire day. It's not a pretty picture, but I trailed behind him like a lost puppy, clinging to his arm and apologizing for hours. I cried when he went to eat alone, asking for a table for one while the waiter clearly looked at me standing right behind him. So yeah, I got mad about being treated like that and booked somewhere else. I'm not a confrontational person, so I went back and forth feeling pretty awful about it. Aftermath, I was afraid of feeling alone on this trip, so I was texting my girlfriends about the situation, and they FaceTimed me to keep me company. My best friend Tina, who had driven to the airport to drop off my passport, booked a spa for me, and the girls chipped in. I felt so loved. Honestly, I'm so appreciative of my support system, even when I'm halfway across the globe. I know a lot of you were telling me to leave, but I want to remind you that spending a few years being intimate and in love with someone isn't easy to let go of. Next day plus rest of the trip, since we'd already planned our trip's itinerary, I had an idea of where he would probably go, so I did the opposite. I booked a walking and eating tour for the first half of the day. To my surprise, there were a lot of solo travelers in our group of 15, and everyone was super open and chatty. I shared contacts with another solo traveler, let's call her Cindy, and after the tour, she invited me to a celebrity-inspired cafe nearby. I know I'm rambling, but this was a pivotal moment for me. While we were talking at the cafe, Cindy asked why I was traveling alone, and I just broke down crying. I was still hurt by everything that had happened, and it felt like this situation had blown up bigger than it should have. So, yeah, I ended up trauma dumping on a complete stranger. Cindy gave me the longest hug ever, the kind of hug you desperately need, and I cried even more. She just kept hugging me, rubbing my back until I stopped. We probably looked like two weirdos hugging in a cafe for 10 minutes, but I needed it. It was awkward, but Cindy said,
"It's okay to be hurt, but don't let this become a pattern."
I don't know why, but that really empowered me. So I decided to reach out first. Before you express your disappointment, let me explain. I've read some of the comments, and they're not things I want to hear, to be honest. I also shared this post with my two closest people, Tina and my brother, and I want to make it clear that I am in no way being abused. Both Tina and my brother agreed that my boyfriend is overall loving. Even my girlfriends were shocked by his behavior. Was this a one-off? I believe so. Does it make it okay? No. But do I love him? Yes, and that's why I wanted to give it my all. I texted him, telling him how much I missed him, that we both handled things badly, and asked how we could move forward. He called me immediately, crying. I was confused but also relieved that he was sad too. I met him back at the hotel, and I had a whole speech rehearsed. We had a deep one-on-one talk where I laid out that I was unhappy with how he spoke to me and his attitude when he was mad. He was apologetic, and the biggest surprise was when he told me that he had planned to propose on this trip. When I mocked him for forgetting his passport, it reminded him of all the stress, and in his head, everything was ruined. He had this perfect plan, and I kind of ruined it by being petty. I get it, emotions were high, but I still think he could have been kinder. We tried to make peace and reminded each other that we love each other and would get through this. I ended the talk by saying that while I do love him, I really want to spend another year or two getting to know each other better before getting engaged. We had talked about marriage before, and I made it clear that I want to live together and share more responsibilities before making things official. He seemed to take it well and said he'd try to be better. The rest of the trip, we had some good moments. When he found out I was going to a spa because I had vented to my friends, he wasn't happy. He understood where I was coming from but felt sad that I shared a dark side of him. But he shrugged it off and apologized again. He was extra attentive and loving, almost to the point of being over the top, but I appreciated it. He let everything go my way for the rest of the trip, and I have to admit, I was loving it. Until about 4 days in, we had a restaurant booked, and our table was in an isolated spot. I had a gut feeling. The server was too nice, and we were given a special course on the house. I asked, "Are you planning to ask me something tonight?" He just told me to enjoy the meal and our time together. Sure enough, he proposed. For the sake of public appearance, I said yes, but I told him afterward that we needed to have another talk when we got back. He said,
I know you wanted to wait, but I'm trying to show you I'm the best partner for you. I really think we should take it to the next level.
I appreciate that he feels confident about us, but I really wanted to wait. It was a stressful, exhausting, and mixed experience. Internally, I was a mess, but externally, I was pretending to be happy, thanking the restaurant staff and even the chef who came out to congratulate us. When we got back to the hotel, he wanted to FaceTime our family and friends, but that's when I reminded him about our earlier talk. He got so angry and couldn't understand why I wanted to wait. It turned ugly, and he accused me of wasting his time. I thought to myself, I've cried more on this trip than in the entire year, what's going on? I thought of Cindy and my friends and wondered, why am I crying so much? I'm exhausted from crying. I told him to stop and take some time to cool off. So there I was, sobbing in bed while he faced the other way. I didn't sleep much. I waited for him to wake up so we could talk, but when he got up, he just brushed me off. He showered and got ready, barely acknowledging me. Do you want to talk about last night?
No.
Are you getting ready? Should we grab something to eat?
Don't worry about it.
What are you feeling?
Nothing.
I was so defeated. I felt like I could cry again. I told him to enjoy the rest of the day, and he said,
Yeah, without you.
And left the hotel. The moment he walked out, I decided to break up. I texted him, I'm not tolerating this. We both need to move on. As I was packing, he barged into the room, screaming at me, full of rage. I was scared. I knew he wouldn't touch me, but he said some really hurtful things that I won't repeat because no one deserves to be spoken to like that. I was hysterical, and hotel staff rushed in. He told them awful things about me, making it look like I was the one at fault. I couldn't defend myself. I asked the staff to call me a taxi, and one of them stayed with me while I collected my things. I went straight to the airport. Thankfully, I only had to wait a few hours for the next flight. I made calls to some friends and family. My brother, who knew about the proposal, had warned my boyfriend to take it slow but didn't think it would end like this. It was a miserable flight home, but Tina, as always, was amazing. I messaged Cindy to tell her we broke up, and she said,
"Dub, find better!"
with a ton of emojis, which made me laugh. He hasn't reached out at all. Not surprising, his friend dropped off my things, politely saying,
Sorry about how things ended, but I am wishing you well.
no harassment, no gossip among our friends, as far as I know. They were surprised we broke up but took it with a people grow apart attitude. Friends have been checking in on me, and I'm grateful. I'm just taking it one day at a time.
A commenter.
Okay, first off, I'm so glad you two are done. Second, you need to tell your friend group what happened because you need a community of support right now. You were really close to just letting go of how he treated you. I think if he hadn't mistakenly proposed, you would have happily ignored all these red flags and let yourself get sucked back in until you realized too late exactly what you'd given into. Thank goodness he proved to be a piece of poop who managed to push you too far, but you need therapy to work on your boundaries and self-respect. Because Cindy is right. You can't let this become a pattern.
Another commenter.
I know you said you weren't being abused, but babe, this was the absolute start. The love bombing immediately after as well. You're so lucky and should be grateful you got out. The second you married him, the mask would have fallen all the way off.
Commenter 3.
He sounds like a classic narcissist too. Everything is about how he is perceived, how everything has to be according to his plan and what he wants, etc.
Commenter 4.
He's going to come back. He's not done with you. I need you to stay strong because he's going to love bomb you again and tell you everything you want to hear, or what he thinks you want to hear. Do not get involved with him again. He does not know how to treat you, and you deserve better. When he comes sniffing around again, do not open the door to this relationship. It's not going to get better. It's just going to stay the same, and he's going to want you to accept his horse poop. Good luck, and stay strong.